Oh yes. Oh yes. This right here is gonna be good. This is gonna be. You smell that? It smells like rage. It smells like rage or joy, depending on if you agree in a general sense with your boy. Because I can see it going a lot of ways when it comes to how people take this. So watch the entire video, or at least most of the video, and then let me know your stance, obviously, because I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of talk on the top 10 strongest Logia Devil Fruits in One Piece. And we're going to be grading this in two general ways. One is going to be a tier list of sorts, but then the top 5 will be graded as the top 5. And then the second one is going to be a full-on 10 through 1. A full-on 10 through 1. And I have to do it in two ways, because the first one is going to give a general sense as to how things are in the story itself right now. And then the second one is going to be at its base, at its core, at its root. So stick around, because we're going to be going through this step by step, piece by piece. However, there's going to be an exemption when it comes to this list, or these lists, I should say. And the exemption is, 1, Mr. All Day, Every Day, 24/7, 365, Zehahaha, Marshall D. Teach, and his Yami Yami no Mi. The Yami Yami no Mi fruit is not on any of these lists, because the Yami Yami no Mi, as far as I can tell, in all scenarios, is the strongest definitively. And it wouldn't be much fun if we already know who top dog is. Now, granted, I can go over those details, but at the end of the day, the Yami Yami stands on top. It just does. It is what it is. And on top of that, we're going to be focusing on the known Logia. So potentially, Dragon is a wind Logia. Potentially. We don't know that. And so until that's revealed and we see what Dragon's about, I'm not going to put Dragon on the list. And it's going to be only canon, not filler. Canon. So now it's all said and done, let's get right into it. The first way we're going to be looking at this when it comes to the strongest Logia is going to be from a story standpoint. And from a story standpoint, the most important thing here is the application, definition number 2, of the ability itself. That matters the most. And it's essentially what the story has dictated for us, and also including some author comments as well from Ichiro Oda himself. So we have essentially 3 tiers here: low tier, mid tier, and high tier. So the low tier, when it comes to the Logia abilities, are the Yuki Yuki no Mi, the Snow Fruit, Monet's ability. Number 2, the Numa Numa no Mi, Numa Numa Ne, Numa 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 Ne, the Numa Numa no Mi, the Swamp Fruit from one Caribou. And then finally, the Gasu Gasu no Mi, the Gas Fruit of one Caesar Clown. These are the low tier of the abilities from a story perspective, from an application standpoint. Number 2, the mid tier. Number 1, the Moku Moku no Mi, the Plume Fruit, which is Smoker's Devil Fruit. And then number 2, the Suna Suna no Mi, the Sand Fruit, which is Crocodile. Now see, that may be controversial, however, story-wise, application-wise, the Suna Fruit is good, but it can be countered quite easily, in the sense of, all you need some water, some liquid on your hands, and that's it, easy clap. The Suna Suna no Mi is applied very well by Crocodile, which is why I would say it's like higher on the mid tier, higher than Smoker's Devil Fruit. But the Suna Suna no Mi, I would still say, is the mid tier, not the high tier. Because the high tier, from a portrayal standpoint, among other things, appear to be better than the Suna Suna no Mi. So number 5, and actually ranked this time, number 5 would be the Mera Mera no Mi, the Flare Fruit of Sabo. Number 4 would be the Girl no Mi, the Rumble Fruit of Enel. Number 3 is the Pika Pika no Mi, the Glint Fruit of Borsalino. Number 2 is the He no Mi, the Ice Fruit of Kuzan. And number 1 is the Magu no Mi, the Magma Fruit of Sakazuki Akainu. These are all the high tier fruits. One of the things that has to be noted is, outside of the canon story itself, but still important to note, is that Oda wanks Akainu. It is absurd. Oda loves his Sakazuki. Like, He's married, but the way Oda talks about Akainu really makes you wonder if he's actually straight. Genuinely so.
Oh yeah.
Oda is in the closet. He's in the closet, but he has a wife and child just for public appearance. I swear to you, it's nuts. The Magu Magu no Mi in a data book is noted to be one of the most destructive abilities in existence, like just flat on in existence. And then the Magu Magu no Mi has I would argue, a superiority relationship with not only the Mera Mera, because we see that, you know, the Mera Mera heat-wise is weaker than the Magu Magu, but also the Ice Fruit, all right? Because we know that, and this is something that I know a lot of folks have argued, because it comes down to like the definition of the actual ability itself, because in one translation, it's Ice, but another one's Chill. So technically speaking, Aokiji or Kuzan may not be ice, but more so he's chill. It varies there. But in this case, it comes more so in the form of ice, for the most part. It all depends, it really does. But if the Hi no Mi fruit, which is Aokiji fruit, ties with Ace's fruit, the Mera Mera no Mi, and the Mera Mera no Mi is weaker energy-wise compared to the Magu Magu, the Magma fruit, because of the temperature, then the same thing should apply with the Ice fruit. That's my stance on that one in particular. Again, that's been a debate in the community for quite a bit of time now, but my stance on that hasn't changed. So for me, Aokiji, he fought against Akainu at a disadvantage. But nonetheless, because of the relationship between the Flare and the Ice fruit, by nature they have to be weaker than the Magu Magu from a story portrayal application standpoint. Though, when it comes to how the abilities are utilized / applied, you can give Aokiji some leeway to the point where if you wanted to make the argument that Aokiji, that Kuzan, is actually stronger, superior than Akainu, Sakazuki, you could. Because of the disadvantage that, at least in this situation, because of the circumstances and disadvantage that Kuzan was in against Akainu, you can make the argument that in a general sense then, Aokiji is superior than Sakazuki. And of course, it's also based on various things as well, such as how the world of One Piece is structured from a geographical standpoint and how most of the world is water. So the argument can be made absolutely, though again, Oda's comments and things like that do favor Sakazuki more than Kuzan. The Pika Pika fruit is pretty disgusting. Like, Kizaru's fruit is gross. However, the application on both Kuzan and Sakazuki's end has been far greater than Kizaru. Case in point, just look at Punk Hazard. Permanent weather change, half ice, half magma. What? Could Kizaru do something like that with his light-based abilities? Not too sure exactly. The application of Kuzan and Sakazuki seem to be greater than that of Kizaru. And Enel, I would argue, is superior application-wise for damn sure than Ace or Sabo. Because again, we're talking about Devil Fruit. We're not talking about hockey, Devil Fruit. And Devil Fruit-wise, NL is among the best. It is what it is. I mean, not only could the guy heat up the air so quickly where he can make a thunderclap and therefore nerf all energy-based attacks, but also he could restart his own heart. He could restart his own heart. An attack from range that makes no sense across the entire White Sea. And the only person without Haki so far that could actually damage NL was Luffy. Luffy was genuinely so NL's counter. And according to Robin, his fruit is one of the few fruits that boasts pure invincibility. I mean, it is what it is. So again, in the high tier, I understand some folks may, you know, again, this is why the video is gonna be spicy. I understand the counterclaims, I do. But I'm leaving it at that when it comes to the high tiers from a story standpoint. Once again, number 5, the Mera Mera Flare Fruit. Number 4, Goro Goro Rumble Fruit. Number 3, the Glint, the Pika Pika no Mi. Number 2, the Hi no Mi, the Ice Fruit. Number 1, of course, the Magu no Mi, the Magma Fruit. Now, this is, again, from how the story is today. If we're going to look at it from a base standpoint, meaning at its root, at its core, outside of the means of application, outside of the means of portrayal, outside of the mean of training and circumstances and creativity and so on and so forth, then the base has to be defined on mainly 2 things. their actual state of matter and energy. You see, now we're going back to the science, boys. Now we're going back to the science. The Logia innately are natural elements. A lot of folks say that One Piece is magic based, but it's not. So far in the story of One Piece, there has been zero magic. The fruits themselves are also made by science, as far as you know. Caesar Clown can make artificial ones with science. Therefore, as far as you can tell, the natural elements of the devil fruits themselves are just that, natural, nature-born elements. And because they're natural, nature-born elements, from a base standpoint, we then have to look at their states of matter and the energy in which the devil fruits themselves are oriented around. Because how good someone is in the world of One Piece when it comes to their powers, it just comes down to the person themselves and how Oda writes them. It is what it is. For example, a lot of folks up Crocodile's power because of what happened in Marineford War. And I believe Oda comments as well that Crocodile came to the story a bit too early. Don't quote me on that one, but I think that's what he said. But that being said, a lot of folks up Crocodile because of things like Oda's comments and movies and how Crocodile acted in Marineford War. A lot of folks believe that Crocodile actually sensed Doflamingo and actually pre-broke before his head got caught off. So there are things there when you look from a story standpoint are not consistent at all. But we can go down to a scientific state of matter and energy standpoint. And from here, things do get spicy. Because one of the primary factors, if not the primary factor for a Logia, is their intangibility factor. Again, Blackbeard is an exception, but we'll get to that later on in the video. And again, another primary factor in ranking these devil fruits is also how they interact and manipulate energy itself. The intangibility factor, I would put a bit ahead of the energy factor, but the energy factor does still matter greatly. And so because of that, there are certain devil fruits innately, they will have a superior relationship to other ones. Just because they have, in this case, a superior state of matter, which means in a tierless fashion, I had to group them into certain blocks. And the weakest of the blocks had to be the solids. So the solid base Logia are, from a state of matter standpoint, the weakest because their intangibility factor innately is the weakest. So from that standpoint, the weakest of the Logia would be the sand fruit of Crocodile. That is the weakest Logia in One Piece. The sand fruit of Crocodile. That's number 10. Number 9 would be the snow fruit of Monet. And then number 8 would be the ice fruit of Kuzan, of Aokiji. We'll get into those details. I know. Hold. We'll get into those details really soon. But number 10, the weakest, the sand fruit. And also you can kind of argue, maybe from a story standpoint, since he was the first Logia in the story, I suppose he'd be the weakest Logia, potentially. Maybe, but at the same time, I don't think Oda's going that far, honestly. So, that is your 10, 9, and 8. The next group are the liquids, your 7, your 6. And in this case, number 7 would be the swamp fruit of Caribou. And then number 6 would be the magma fruit of Sakazuki. Wait a minute. Ooh.
Spicy.
So again, I don't want to go into those details too much right now. I can sniff some rage, but let me continue. Number 3 would be the gases. These have a much greater degree of intangibility factor than liquids or solids, obviously. And in this case, number 5 would be the plume fruit, the smoke fruit of Smoker. And then number 4 would be the gas fruit of Caesar Clown. Oh my goodness, oh my damn. And then from there, your top 3, the strongest, would be your energy-based Logia. Again, this is from a base standpoint, not application. Open your mind! Open your mind and remove the story component from your mind. This is about from a base standpoint of state of matter and energy. Number 3 is the flare fruit of Ace and Sabo, the Mare no Mi. Number 2, the rumble fruit of Enel, the girl no Mi. And number 1, the glint fruit of Borsalino, the Pika Pika no Mi. That, my friends, is the strongest Logia Devil Fruit outside of Blackbeard, of course. The strongest Logia Devil Fruit. If we look at this from a state of matter and energy standpoint, and that I think is a fairly accurate way to look from a base standpoint. Solids, liquids, gases, energy. Now, let me go back, because I know there's some rage, so let me explain. Let me explain. First things first, the Sand Fruit does have a greater intangibility factor than the Ice Fruit. True. However, the Ice Fruit has a greater energy factor than the Snow Fruit, because ice itself can manipulate energy to a far greater degree, whereas the Sand Fruit really can't in comparison to the Snow Fruit or the Ice Fruit. And then on top of that, this is a bit of application, obviously, but in the case of Luffy against Aokiji, Luffy could pummel Aokiji into like bits, into like ice shards, like dust, and Aokiji still reformed. So that could be application where he's that skilled, or it could be a natural byproduct of the fruit itself. So even if you pound ice to dust, it can still reform. Monet almost knocked out Luffy by embracing him in a cold clutch. That is controlling and manipulating energy to an extent. I mean, that's what it is, freezing. And in the case of Aokiji, the man can probably go near like absolute zero, if not absolute zero. So the potential of ice and snow energy manipulation at a base is far higher than the Sand Fruit, without question. And the same thing applies for the Magu and the Swamp Fruit. The Magu is also heat-oriented. Heat is energy, duh. But because the Swamp Fruit is a liquid in a whole new tier of intangibility factor compared to a solid, by definition, then it would have to be above the solids, all of them. And you're thinking, okay, well, Caribou sucks. Yeah, Caribou sucks. He's horrid. He's awful. He's awful. Granted, next Straw Hat, true. True, but that comes down to application and story and portrayal and circumstances and so on. Imagine an admiral with the Swamp Fruit, where they can make an entire island into a swamp area and suck in and contain the entire island into a swamp. What if someone could actually create swamp entities? Like swamp giants that form from the muck, like swamp things. The application of the Swamp Fruit could be truly tremendous if it wasn't in the hands of one Caribou, because Caribou just sucks. It is what it is. On the flip side, if someone as low tier as Buggy had the Magma Fruit, you know, that may get folks triggered. That may get folks triggered because folks love Buggy. Let's say the Caribou had the Magma Fruit, and then Peckham's rolled on up and punched him the way he did in Fishman Island. Would that change in any way? Because according to the first list, his application is doo-doo. It is awful. It is fecal matter. No, not really. Peckham's may get burned. Maybe. But Peckham's is still one-shotting Caribou. Magma Fruit or Swamp Fruit, it is what it is. The same would apply for, let's say, the Ice Fruit. If you have a guy like Caribou with the Ice Fruit, Aokiji he's a stud. But someone like Caribou, who, again, their application sucks, or someone like Caesar Clown, if they have the Ice Fruit, all you need is a flamethrower. Like, legit. If I was in the world of One Piece, me, a big black dude in the world of One Piece, I had a flamethrower, and I'm spraying down Caesar Clown, who has the Ice Fruit. Caesar Clown's done. He's done. I win.
King of Lightning.
It is what it is. It is what it is. Going from there, the gases. Because Caesar Clown is gas in general, and Smoker is smoke, I have to give the edge to Caesar Clown in that case. The Plume Fruit focuses on a particular type of gas, whereas the Gasu no Mi is gas in general. So whether it's oxygen, helium, nitrogen, and so on, it's all gases in general, which is a far more diverse pool to manipulate and control compared to the specific and pinpoint Plume Fruit. So imagine, again, application here for a second. Imagine if Caesar Clown was like Admiral level or something like that, where like for let's say 5 or 10 kilometers, he could remove all the oxygen in an area. Like, imagine like an entire island area, oxygen removed. Broken, broken, actually broken. How do you beat that? The man is looking like the Heracles from Toriko. Like my dog. All the air just instantly gone in the area. Caesar Clown wins. He low diffs like half the goddamn verse. From that standpoint, Caesar Clown, his application is garbage. But from a base standpoint, the gas fruit is a superior fruit than the smoke fruit, then the magma fruit, then the swamp fruit, and the ice fruit, and so on and so forth. And then finally, the energy-based Logia are the cream of the crop, and nobody does it better. The flare fruit, recall this, the flare fruit, the fire fruit, the Memonomi, we know in the manga has a inferior relationship with the magma fruit. However, we do know for a fact that fire can reach higher temperatures. And let's, for example, in the case of white fire is actually hotter than magma. Why has Ace never used white fire before? That's in the possibility of it, for sure. And then on top of that, even if we don't have like white fire and like we have regular fire, fire from an intangibility standpoint is far superior than magma. Fire, we're comparing energy to liquid. And in fact, arguably speaking, the swamp is superior intangibility wise than the magma because it's molten rock. So it's like half solid, half liquid. However, again, Sakazuki magma controls energy to a far greater degree than swamp does, without question. Now I can see some of you guys saying, okay, well, hold on now. What about the relationship between the ice fruit and let's say the swamp fruit? Because in theory, the swamp fruit does really poorly against the ice fruit, which in theory is true, but again, that all comes down to application. And then on top of that, again, from an innate standpoint, even though it is inferior energy-wise compared to the ice fruit, it is in a whole different tier of intangibility because ice is solid and the swamp is liquid. Therefore, gauging based on those basic states of matter, I have to give the edge to the swamp fruit. And then finally, the cream of the crop, Eno Kizaru. I mean, well, Kizaru's simple. I mean, Kizaru's light. The man is the speed of light. He's photons incarnate. It's that simple, really. And then NL is lightning. The rumble fruit, temperature-wise, is far higher than the flare fruit. It is far higher, ridiculously higher, temperature-wise. So energy-wise, Borsalino, the glint, the light fruit, and the rumble fruit are the top. They're the cream of the crop. Energy-wise, they are the best. But there's one exception, which is, of course, one Mr. All Day, Every Day, 24/7, 365. Because, look, the reason why Blackbeard is an exception is because he has no intangibility factor, at least when it comes to his own body. That's a very specific thing there. At least when it comes to his body, he has virtually zero intangibility factor. Now, for his attacks, that's different. They're based on a shadow gravity, which is a really odd thing there. In theory, that intangibility should be the highest because he's shadow. He's shadow gravity. But let's say we exclude the shadow component. The gravity component, let's say we compare it to Kizaru or NL, where Kizaru is photons or NL is plasma. Gravity is a force. Gravity is just literally a force between masses. So if you want to talk about intangibility, on paper, that is the highest by far. Like, it's a weird thing there, exactly. But his attacks are extraordinarily intangible. But his actual body, again, has virtually zero intangibility. Now, if we're going to go by the first list, the guy's powers, portrayal-wise, are stated to be the strongest in story number 1. And then number 2, he can actually negate other devil fruit powers wholesale. That's a bit broken. And then on the second list standpoint, the guy has black hole level claims. He makes the claim that his gravity is so powerful and so potent to where he can even suck in light itself. His energy factor is off the charts, man. I mean, black black hole level claims. Okay. All right. So it is what it is. That's why I had to exclude Blackbeard, because story-wise, or even state of matter and energy-wise, he's the top. He's top dog. But outside of that, Akainu is king story-wise. But state of matter and energy-wise, the Pika Pika no Mi is top dog, without question. And granted, there are other ways to gauge the top 10 strongest Logia. You can gauge in terms of the effect on the environment. You can gauge on how destructive the ability is. There are many, many ways to gauge the top 10 strongest Logia. I would just say that the main two things would be matter and energy, because from a base standpoint, these are natural elements. And because magic does not exist in One Piece, I think it's fair to gauge it in that sense. So when Kizaru does a laser kick or a laser beam and he vaporizes something, that's not magic, that's science, that's physics. Now, I'm not saying go crazy with it, like I'm not saying apply every law of physics that we know of to the world of One Piece. No, of course not. There are limits to realism in manga, and Oda's not a physicist. Like, we're not seeing Oda give Blackbeard the ability to like create event horizon. Like, we're not seeing Oda go that far with someone like Blackbeard to where his gravity can actually produce event horizons. No. And I highly, highly doubt that Oda would ever go that far with someone like Blackbeard, even if Blackbeard had an awakened Logia Yami Yami no Mi. So there's only so far you can go, without question. However, again, this is not a magical world. And if Oda's willing to go as far as to do things like magma is superior than fire because magma can burn fire, knowing that magma has a higher temperature than regular fire, or let's even having this odd relationship between the plume, the smoke fruit, and the flare fruit, to where they can't really hurt each other innately because one is fire and one is smoke. Or even things like water pressure in One Piece, where if Zoro goes outside on an 8,000 meters of water pressure, he's going to die. Or when Luffy and the Straw Hats went to Skypiea, and the air was so much thinner that they had a hard time breathing. These are clearly scientific real-world components that Oda has time and time again incorporated into the story. Or even doing things like having NL name the amount of voltage that is incorporated into his attacks, then gauging by the state of energy and matter to a very basic, and again, a very, very basic extent, I think is relatively fair. So, let me know your stance on the subject matter at hand. Very briefly, I'll run through real quickly. For the first list, once again, the low tier are the Snow fruit, the Swamp fruit, and the Gas fruit. The mid tier are the Plume fruit and the Sand fruit. And the high tier are the Ice fruit, the Magma fruit, the Glint fruit, the Rumble fruit, and the Flare fruit. And then finally, when it comes to the actual top 10, based on a state of matter and energy standpoint, the weakest is the Sand fruit. Then from there, the Snow fruit, the Ice fruit, the Swamp fruit, the Magma fruit, the Smoke fruit, the Gas fruit, and then finally, to cap it all off, the Flare fruit, the Rumble fruit, and of course, the Glint fruit. So let me know your stance on the subject matter at hand. Be sure to rate the video. Please do. I know it's spicy. Spicy. Be sure to rate the video. It is not that hard to do. I guarantee you that, because I know that you all have a device called Zmousu. You use Zmousu to click, rate the video, to click, subscribe, to click on that bell to join the squad. And of course, as always, feel free to, please do, comment in the comment section down below. Peace, and have a nice goddamn day.